Hello and welcome to my channel, The Bookworm. My name is Guy Estes and I am the Bookworm. I am author of the fantasy series Sisters of the Storm. I got the first 3 installments here. Note the subtle product placement. This is more sword and sorcery, fantasy, epic fantasy, high fantasy. Also author of the Clannad Morigna series. That's more of a magical realism, takes place in the here and now. The Adventures of Honor McGregor, Pagan PI. So, today's topic, one of my little pet peeves, the overpowered character. And I've got the door open to my office today to get a little better lighting in here. So there is going to be the occasional background noise. I ask you to excuse that. Please bear with me on that one. So, the overpowered character. Now, this can be villain or hero. But obviously smacks of lazy writing and poor story crafting. Now, certain things that somebody might mistake as being overpowered, not necessarily. So, particularly in my genre, in fantasy, all right, you can have either the hero or the villain presented as being this very powerful character, very powerful fighter, sorcerer, whatever the case is, without them being overpowered. You have that establishing moment. You use that moment to establish this person, establishing the hero's badass status. In the case of the villain, kind of the same thing, and establishing that villain's threat level as the credible threat to our hero. So it serves a purpose in that, but that's not overpowered. That's just a powerful character, not an overpowered character. So what do I mean by overpowered? One of the best examples I can think of with that would be the 1978 Superman the Motion Picture. They definitely, in my opinion, went in that direction with that. And to some degree, I think they did with the Superman Returns with Brandon Routh as well. But in Superman the Motion Picture, okay, so Lois Lane dies, so Superman turns back time so that he can fix things so that she doesn't die. And all right, if he can do that, he can fix anything. Yeah, you know, that pretty much automatically grants victory right then and there, if it's that simple. And in the movie, they did not get into the complications and subtleties of time travel. In fact, they took a system that even I, as a stupid kid at the time, knew wouldn't have worked. In the movie, Superman reverses the direction of the Earth's rotation. Well, okay. So the sun now rises in the west and sets in the east, and you've probably screwed up the ocean currents, but you have not altered the flow of time. You know, and again, even as a kid, I knew that. But again, I don't like that. That's sloppy writing, sloppy story crafting, because again, a character who can do that they can fix anything. He can go back and fix when Pa Kent died. He can go back and fix this and fix that and this and that and the other, and you know, the character is basically God. Superman in general, I think, is kind of a good example of that, depending on who the writer is and the time period. I mean, he's a comic that's been around for a long time. But there were times in some of these comics and some of these iterations where he was essentially God, and it just, okay, what's the point? Yeah, you know, if he is not facing a credible threat, this is going to be a very dull story. Overpowered villains, which is something I object to just as much as overpowered heroes. Again, it can make for a dull story. It can make for, I don't know, for me, I find it just annoying when you get this villain who, no matter what you hit them with, doesn't stop. They just keep coming. Okay, classic example from the movies, villains in slasher flicks. Okay, no matter what you do to these guys? They come back, and it just, all right, what's the point? Now, I'm not a fan of slasher flicks, and so it's entirely possible I'm missing something here. From what I understand, a lot of people watch slasher flicks for the reason I avoid them. I avoid them because most of the characters are so damn stupid. It drives me to this level of screaming Tarzan-like high decibel cries of frustration at the screen. You idiot! Why didn't you just, you know, whatever. From what I understand, a lot of fans of slasher movies watch it because they enjoy seeing the idiots get slashed. Oh, okay. But not my thing. To another degree, an extent that I encountered was with the Amazon series The Boys. I watched the first two seasons. I stopped watching after that. The main reason I stopped watching it's a well done series. I think it is very well done, and I think for the most part very well written. It is a well done series. I just stopped watching it. My primary reason was I just had my fill of superhero psychopaths between The Watchmen and this, and I didn't even try The Invincibles. I just saw a trailer, so yeah, no, okay, another one of these. And just not my thing. And so that's why I quit watching. But one of the other things I got was, okay, Homelander, who was their equivalent of Superman and a complete psychopath. But after 2 seasons of watching this, okay, so you got the normal humans that want to stop the supers being led by Homelander, who is essentially Superman. I have yet to see anything that poses any kind of threat to Homelander, and that even poses an inconvenience to him. And so as I'm watching these episodes, I'm thinking, okay, this is what you're dealing with. What hope do you have to stop this guy? I have seen nothing that indicates you have the slightest chance in hell of stopping Homelander. You expose the evil corporation for what it is, whatever. So okay, then Homelander comes and kills you. Okay, what did you accomplish there? Now again, maybe in the 3rd season they rectified that. I don't know. But after 2 seasons, I'm thinking there ought to be something here telling me why Billy Butcher and the other boys, the boys, have any chance whatsoever of succeeding on their quest. Because the whole time I'm watching, like I said, these whole first 2 seasons, I'm thinking, yeah, but you got to deal with Homelander in the end, and as far as I can tell, you're not going to be able to do that. So if they had shown something that would be a weakness for him, that could slow his kryptonite, whatever that might be, that could give you a little bit of hope that, okay, yeah, maybe they do stand a chance. But up until then, I was like, okay, they're screwed. And these overpowered characters, this is actually one of the symptoms of a Mary Sue, at least in the case of a hero. With villains, I've seen them called villain Sues, but it's kind of the same thing. Now again, that's not the same as a determined character. So the Terminator movies, I like those. Terminators are very, very difficult to stop. Not impossible to stop. They do find ways. You hit them hard enough, yep, they can be stopped. Even the T-1000 liquid metal one. They stopped him in T2, and then in Terminator Genesis, they found another way. You know, you don't necessarily have to run them through the Bessemer process. They found another one of them. Yep, that could work. You know, and I thought this is a plausible thing here. And so I think you have a better conflict when you have a nice little balance. You know, between a villain who, yes, they're powerful, yes, they're going to be hard to stop, but they can be stopped. You know, whereas, like I said, if they're too powerful, after a while, like, okay, what's the point here? Unless they're going to, you know, the author's just going to basically pull something out of their ass and that nobody saw coming and could have predicted and saved them. So again, sloppy story crafting there, sloppy writing. And so as a result of my opinion thinking of this, I try to avoid this in my own writing. So if any of you watching this have read my book, you're thinking, well, wait a minute, Estes, your characters are pretty darn powerful. The Death Queens, yeah, they're pretty powerful. Well, how do you avoid this? So Yes, they're powerful, but they are not unstoppable. One of the things I make sure happens in every novel, they come up against somebody or something that kicks their ass. There's at least one time in each novel where Alina is the recipient of a good old ass kicking, curb stomp, whatever. So that, yes, she is a damn good fighter. Yes, she can take on just about anything, but there are things that can take her on too. Same thing with Beja. Now, admittedly, with Beja, that's harder for me to do because she's a sorceress, an enchantress, the witch queen. She can conjure up, she commands all these incredible powers. So I got around that by having my rules of magic, how that works. And I won't get into that into this video. I might do that on another. Rules on how magic works, that places limitations on that. One of those limitations I did place was magical powers. Like any other powers, like anything else in nature, there is an upper limit. There's a point that it's just not going to go past, that it can't. I tended to think of Beja's magical strength sort of like physical strength. No matter how much somebody diets and exercises and works out, no matter what chemicals they pump themselves full of, there is an upper limit to how strong a human being can be. And so I figured the same thing applied to magic. There is an upper limit. So there are things, some things I just explicitly state in the story. When somebody asks Beja, well, why don't you cast a spell? Because I can't. That is beyond what anyone can do. And establish those rules. Alina has the strength of the dragon. Okay, so when I first gave her that, I was confronting this. I thought, okay, I got to make sure that I don't verge into this territory that I hate, and she becomes this unstoppable, invincible hero. So when I first gave her the strength of the dragon, the limitations that I placed on it, she had no control over it. She could not call it up at will. So sometimes it would come upon her when she didn't need it, and she needed to do something with it. She had to expend it somehow. Other times, there were situations where she desperately needed it, and it wouldn't come. So she had to, she had those limitations. Then over time, I've gotten to where she's established some control over it. She can now call it up, but she can't do it instantly. She needs quiet meditation. So she needs at least a minute or two of quiet meditation to call it up within herself. So she cannot do it in the midst of battle. If she finds herself dealing with this gigantic troll or something that's just kicking her ass, she can't just call up the strength of the dragon and beat it. She has to find another way to win, or she might end up losing that battle, which happens. Now that she can call up the strength of the dragon, another limitation I place, she can't keep it forever. 3 days is the maximum. If she tries to hang on it past 3 days, it starts burning up her reserves too much, and she'll essentially starve to death. Beja calculates that she would have to eat her entire body weight in food just to survive. That's not to be in good physical condition or fighting trim. That's just basic survival. She would have to do that. To be in good shape and be able to act, she would have to consume even more than that, which obviously can't be done. So there's a limit. She can only have that strength of the dragon for a max of 3 days, and then she's got to let it go, got to banish it again. So those are little tricks I use to place limits on what my superpowered characters can do. With villains, some of them find ways to work around that. So for example, in one of the books, I don't have it here, but in The Godmakers, the villain in that one actually found a way to turn the strength of the dragon against Alina. And it was something Alina kicked herself for. She should have thought of this, and she didn't. So even though she is a chosen warrior gifted by the gods, which makes her a master strategist, master tactician, she overlooked something. She did show. So she's damn good at it, superhuman good at it, but she is not infallible and does occasionally overlook things. Same thing with Beja. So they found a way to turn the strength of the dragon against her and manipulate these other little loopholes and things like that. they are still subject to the laws of physics. So a little scene I have in the book I'm writing right now, still in the rough draft, the first draft of that, even using the strength of the dragon to try and pull something, push something, lift something. Alina needs to be able to brace herself against something. She's got to be on something solid that can also bear that strain. If she can't, then that, she's kind of screwed. There was a scene where there was this big wagon was going over the edge of a cliff. She has the strength of the dragon. She grabs it to stop it. But while she's strong enough to stop it, that wagon's still a lot heavier than she is. So it's pulling her over the cliff until she finds something to brace herself against and can hold on and now possibly pull the wagon back up. But it doesn't, I don't want to give away anything else. It turns out something else happens, and she actually falls victim to another little law of physics, in that what she is holding on to, the part of the wagon she's holding on to, can't bear the strain and breaks off. So even with those powers, you still have limits. There's still certain natural laws you're kind of beholden to. So that's just kind of one of my little pet peeves. The overpowered characters, tend to see them in movies and whatnot. That was really one of the reasons I didn't watch the last Avengers movies. I think Endgame was the second one, the first one I forget. And I know the purpose of that was to set up so that Endgame could come along and they could come along and defeat Thanos. But throughout that first movie, it just irritates me, it just bugs me. Okay, he's kicking the Hulk's ass and all these other things going on, and just they're not even stopping him, they're not even slowing him down. And again, I'm gonna come out of that movie extremely frustrated. Where it's like, come on, you don't even land a hit, you don't even inconvenience him. And now I know the purpose was to set up the second one where they do defeat him. But still, that first one would have just been too frustrating for me. It's just one of my little pet peeves. So yeah, they did address it in the second movie, and that was kind of the whole plan. But it's just, again, one of my little pet peeves. One of the things kind of bugs me, and it's something that I think people do kind of fall into. Again, like I said, oftentimes the writers of Superman and things like that. Something I try to avoid with my own books, my own superpowered characters and things like that. So, avoiding that little pitfall and that sloppy story crafting. But that is all I have for you all today. Please hit like and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. I will provide the Amazon link for my Sisters of the Storm series, and also my Klana Nagmorigna series. Right now, this is the only book in the series, the first one, Out of the Shadows. I am working on the second one. It's taken me a long time. I'm sorry. Neither of these books are coming to me. I'm writing this one and the next installment to Sisters of the Storm. These stories aren't coming to me easy this time around for some reason, and I have a day job I have to show up for, and I have to do this and that, so it takes me a bit of time, a lot longer than I wish it would. If I could write full time, then yeah, these books would come out more frequently. So help me out with that. Buy a book. Also, if you have read one of my books, do me a huge favor. Leave a review, preferably at Amazon, but other places where you leave that you frequent, like Goodreads or Barnes and Noble or wherever. But reviews are an invaluable tool to authors for marketing purposes, to get other people to read. There's nothing else that substitute them, so we need them. So do me a solid, buy a book, leave a review, help me out with that, and I'll keep writing more books for you to read and review, and so nice little symbiotic relationship there. So thank you for tuning in. I'll have the links to those books. I will also provide a link to my mother's book. She writes very different fare than I do. Hers is more Hallmark Channel type stuff, but her novel Patchwork Hearts, also available on Amazon, and I'll leave a link for that as well. And she too is working on the next installment to that book. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe, and I will catch you all later.